Hello, welcome to my unboxing of the HPI models Mazda 787B Le Mans winning car, number 55 from 1991. And this must be one of the few remaining fully packaged, shrink-wrapped, unopened HPI models, 43rd scale die cast of these. So let's have a look at it before I open it up. You've got some HPI Racing security enclosure bits there. Notice how the shrink wrap is actually pulling the box across. Now these boxes are particularly fragile, the cardboard bits, because this whole case is so long on these removable engine cover models that these end up with very little support. And of course the boxes are angled in at the side, and yeah, you see this one is already dimpling out. It's slightly squished. Anyway, let's have a quick look around the back. Anyway, well, let's get into this. I'm not sure whether to feel bad about doing this, but anyway, here we go. So use my Victorinox card knife. Right, peeling that off. Well, I do like to display my models, so I don't like to leave them in the wrapper. That's not the point. Yes, of course, they're becoming less valuable because somebody will want one that's never been opened for some reason, but I like to display them. You'll see in the video I've got 3 other Mazda 787s, well, 2 787s and a 767 there that I actually saw at Brands Hatch, but more on that in a while. Now, right, we're a bit closer to opening this, so now sliding it out is always tricky. And of course we've got these, so I'm actually going to use that just to get in there and ease that open. Please bear with me. I mean, you might want to skip forward a minute if you're not interested in unpacking, but I assure you this video will be worthwhile. The detail on these HPIs is fantastic. So while I'm doing this, I just explain the other models that I've got. I've got one HPI presentation, you could call it, silver Mazda 787B, so an identical car to this, effectively just in a different colour scheme. And I've got a Spark Models 43rd scale, which is identical to this car, except it's by Spark rather than HPI. Then of course doesn't have the opening engine cover, so you don't get the engine detail. And we're going to really compare this HPI with the Spark for detail in general. Of course the Spark will win on the engine detail because there is none on them. Sorry, the HPI will win on the engine detail because there is none on the Spark, but let's have a look at the other detail and the colour. I'm noticing actually the colour on the Spark is brighter. Right, okay, let's make sure that's round and out of the way. And round and out of the way. Right, let's try pushing that through, which isn't going to be... Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, yeesh. Right, okay, so we've got the card out of the way. Let's just have a look at this card. So it's bowed a little bit there, and definitely a little bit there, if you see. So that's just natural. There's nothing you can do about it. But of course, in the brand new ones, there's no scuffing there or anything. If you've seen my Jaguar XJR9 video, you might notice that the box was worn on those corners, which is a bit of a shame and a bit pointless. Right, so let's get into this. That should just lift off now because those sticky bits are left behind on the box. Oh, man. Goodness me. Okay, they've got a real firm fit here, haven't they? Right, sorry, I'm taking that out of view, so I'm just going to allow you to look at this Q Models car in the background. This car is the one I actually saw racing at Brands Hatch in 1989, the 480 kilometres of Brands Hatch, part of the WEC Championship, the Group C cars. And I'm struggling with this. I'm going to actually use the knife to ease it open. I've got a bit of a gap now, but I'm worried about damaging that. So this Q Models, it's not a well-known make, they're not prolific, but I do absolutely love the detail on that. Right, I've opened the case. The detail on it is fantastic. So actually I'm going to compare some of the detail on this. Okay, so here we go. And as we can see, it's still mounted on the plinth, and we'll be taking that off the plinth, of course, which is the screwdriver at the time. So a lot of people want to display it like this. You've got the information about the car and drivers in the race, and then you've got information about the spec, length, wheelbase, etc. But let's remove the rear engine cover. So the rear engine cover is actually die-cast metal, so it's, unlike the rest of the car, is die-cast resin. So that's really neatly held on. Right, great, got that off. And I'm going to now take the car off, because I'm not one to leave cars on mounts. And to be honest, I don't have the display space to allow space for the mounts, so I mount the cars. I just place the cars in the display. So I'm just unscrewing from underneath the plinth. Right, and there we go. And we've removed the car. Right, let's get those things out of the way. Screwdriver gone, and the plinth gone. Right, okay, here we go. What I'm going to do is just place that there. Right, okay. So I'm going to bring in the Spark model straight away, and you'll see the orangey red is a slightly brighter orangey red on the Spark, and I'm not sure that feels realistic. I don't think that's correct. I think it's more likely to be this slightly duller HPI, and the green is slightly lighter than on the Spark, perhaps less glossy. So the green is lighter on the HPI and perhaps less glossy than on the Spark. Right, I'll tell you what, before I get into that, let's look under the engine cover. So of course a Mazda rotary 4-rotor naturally aspirated engine, buried deep down there, tiny engine. That was one of the benefits for this car. And there's really nothing much to see. If you've just watched my XGR9 Jaguar one, you'll see the engine was taking up a huge amount of space back here. But really there's very little back here. You've got the structural members from the back of the tub to the suspension and things like that. So you've got lovely detail, suspension detail, cooling detail. You see the intake is on this side, and you've got the brown intake manifold there. I can't tell you where the exhaust system is. Let's have a look at the back there. Excellent, excellent detail. I do love these HPI models. Okay, so looking at that, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the engine cover. Well, let's have a quick peek at the engine cover. Again, great detail. I love the look of these cars because they're potentially slightly smaller than the other Group C cars, but in some ways I do like them. Right, let's put this on. Now you'll notice there are two very fine areas there that we need to be aware of and careful with. And let's just ease that into place. Lovely. Wow, what a lovely, neat fit. That is better than the XGR9 that I've just reviewed. So, right, let's get into the comparison. If I go face to face at first, we can see them that way. Look at the front of the cars. So you can see the slight colour difference there. The Spark's front wheels might be slightly inset compared to the HPI, hard to be sure. And this yellowish step bit seems a bit big on the Spark, whereas it's more reduced and a bit duller on the HPI. I suspect that's correct as well. Vents maybe a bit more detailed on the HPI, a bit more contrast, a bit more detail in that compared to this. Let's look at the wing mirrors. Very similar. So while we're at this angle, we can compare the aerials. So the Spark is this one on the right that I'm wobbling. And interestingly, the Spark has a silver second aerial, rear aerial, whereas the other one, the HPI, they're both dark coloured. So again, I'm not sure what's right there. Comment if you look up some photos of these cars, you might be able to comment. The detail of the decals, so that decal there with that wheel or steering wheel effect is slightly bigger than on the HPI, so it's bigger on the Spark. I'm tending toward the HPI, and it is more valuable. They're harder to come by. There's probably only 2 for sale at the moment in the whole world, and you've got to be careful not to accidentally buy the Japanese series cars rather than the Le Mans WEC car. Okay, look at the rear wheel detail. So let's put them back to back. And the HPI is on the right, so this one I'm waggling. Okay, interesting, they're different, distinctly different, but I would say the Spark wheel looks more authentic. I think they're OZ wheels, but I can't remember for sure. If I compare that with the Q model, which of course is a couple of years older, 2 years, this car is 2 years older, the spoke detail on that looks more correct. So I'm tempted to think the Spark has a better rear wheel detail, but again, look at me, Dunlop. Oh, that Dunlop writing on the Spark looks huge, so I'm not sure that's accurate. Okay, right. In fact, the Spark wheel looks like it's a bigger diameter than the HPI wheel. Okay, let's look at the exhaust detail. So I'm going to line them up like this. Okay, similar, nothing much to say. But yeah, excellent. So, okay, you'll see different details. Do pick them out and tell me what you think. Again, the Spark wheel looks a bit bigger, which is unrealistic because they weren't low-profile tyres. The HPI looks to have the correct size wheels. So, as would normally be, I do tend to prefer the HPI. Right, let's put the Spark to one side and just concentrate a bit more on this. Let's look at the underside. Okay, nothing much to see, of course. Got some marking on the tyres from where it's been on the plinth. Let's just check the underside detail on the Spark. Yeah, you've got these huge step pieces, haven't you, there? But weird. Okay. Whether I get rid of the Spark, I'm not sure. I might do. Really, this is the one that I always wanted. Okay, excellent detail. Vila, Herbert and Gasho, the drivers, to win Le Mans. So the first Japanese car to win at Le Mans, of course. And yeah, what a lovely model. Excellent, very happy with that. Let me just bring in the presentation coloured one, so you see even the wheel colours are different, or the front wheel aero discs have a different colouring on. But this is a beautiful model in its own right, and again you see more of the shape of the car, more of the detail, because it's not obscured by the livery kind of deceiving you. But let's just see if we can see into the car at all. So you've got a nice windscreen wiper, dashboard. That's very hard to see in these dark interiors, but actually the side windows do go quite far around, but it's quite far up on top of the car compared to some of the other competing cars. But really hard to see any detail in there, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. Okay, Well, thank you very much for watching. I'll put some links to some other Mazda 787, 767 videos. I've got a 12th scale video review, which you might be interested to see, which is a very popular video. Anyway, do subscribe to the channel. There's always more like this. I've got road cars reviewed as well as racing cars, mainly 43rd scale, but some older videos that are 18th and 12th scale. And I hope you've enjoyed the video, and do come back for more, and you'll hear more from me again sometime. Thank you for watching.